This episode of Coffee Talks is brought to you by Markham LLP Accountants and Advisors.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. I'm very pleased to have the founder and CEO of Seekers, Eddie Shapiro, which today I found out his real name is Eddie Shapiro. Eddie, thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
Eddie, you started your business 20 years ago.
22 almost, yeah. The firm came together right around 9/11.
Yeah.
I did not want to make it September, October of 2001 as the starting date in business because of it's just you'd have to explain too much all the time. So we picked January 2002, which is just 3-4 months after.
Yeah.
And in fact, it wasn't a great time. That was a time where the conversation was there will never be high rises in New York anymore. People were running away from New York City.
But then the 4 or 5 months after that period,
Then it began
boomed.
to come back.
Yeah.
Very much like we've seen after 08, 09, there was a period of expansion. Very much like we've seen, the biggest steer in the history of real estate right after the pandemic, right? Within 6 months, 8 months, it paved way to a historical record years on all fronts. So it's these events, these world events, we think the end of the world's coming. I was here already for a decade. I was like, there's no way that this city is going to die. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And we double down, and as we do, by the way, in every economical cycle, we expand and have taken more aggressive steps when everyone contracts, when people are running away, when they run for the hills. That's where opportunity presents themselves. And if you position yourself correctly during boom years, and
It seems like an easy concept, but people are afraid to make the jump. I think
they're afraid to make it. They're waiting for 10 other people to make the jump, and then they'll ride on the wave.
I feel like the first 20 years of this century were the boom time of real estate. Do you feel like real estate is the hot topic that it was in the first 20 years of the century?
Yeah, I think, with a certain, call it client base, it remains, in the center of life. Is your home, your investment properties, your summer homes, so people are always buying, selling, upgrading, and trading. So I think like everything in the real estate business is geographical, right? So certain markets are a little bit more saturated, and there's been maybe too much activity, and there's only so much depth to a market, so it kind of peaks a little bit, and you're looking around, you say, oh, there's too many agents here. 50% of the people in this town are agents.
Like Miami.
And but then there are other markets that are expanding, growing, evolving, that haven't had that kind of experience yet, and maybe are a few years behind the markets that have peaked. For us, it's been critical to build and expand our business as diverse as possible, so that we can flow with the flow, right?
Is that why you're going to places like Dubai and Manila? How do you manage those businesses?
So, our business, as you well know, is all about human capital. It's key to have the right people in every location. We follow the talent. And so sometimes we start in markets that we shouldn't, maybe, strategically, but there's the correct team. So what's happened with our brand is, because we're enjoying about 15 years of television exposure, and most recently, past 3 years, we've been Netflix and HBO and the BBC now, and it's now distributing all of these shows are distributing all over the world.
You have Crazy Rich Agents.
Yes.
You have the $1 Million Beach House, and you have the
Selling the Hamptons. Is it good for the business? 100%. So take Crazy Rich Agents that aired on the BBC in the UK in August. Every Sunday, 9 p.m. By first week, it was the second most rated show in the UK, and continued on. Now in January, that very same show is beginning distribution internationally, and it's going to re-air now in Hong Kong, Macau, New Zealand. In Belgium, we just opened an office in Antwerp. So it's great exposure to complement the launch of that marketplace for us. It expands and reinforces the brand value, amongst the consumer when they're constantly seeing it. It's then easier to walk into someone's living room and say, hey, work with us.
Yeah.
List with us. And, even if they've never heard of it, they must have heard it somewhere. The wife or the kids or someone's watched the show or seen it in the press, seen it in the media. And so that helps make that decision.
I noticed that you guys are getting into the yacht business or the boating business and also the aviation business.
Aviation.
And you're also looking into the art business as well.
Yes. At this point, we've also expanded our business beyond real estate, right? So all the sort of natural extensions of our industry, I believe that we're seeing the synergy as we're working through them is yachts. So there's Nest Yachts, that's really a boating business. South Florida, the Hamptons, almost every major coastal market, there's a boating business that operates very much like the real estate industry. There's MLSs, there's corporations, there's major brokerages. It's about marketing and earning commissions. So anything that's hard assets, that we can provide a service of trade and management for our affluent clients.
And how's that going so far?
It's going well. We've sold 85 footers and 100 footers, and we're getting listings and exclusives on
Is
projects.
that something that you're also following the talent for, or is that something you're going to be in regardless?
100%. And there's some great brokers and managers in the yachting business that are very interested in getting into the real estate business and vice versa. So we're merging the two, we're building it. We know that it's going to continue to be a big part of our business and growing over time.
Let's talk about when you first started the business. You came up with the idea for Nest Seekers. Was it your idea?
Yes, it's not a great story, and sometimes I'm not excited to talk about it, but there was a moment in the 90s where I thought that I was involved with a few startups, the original real estate startups, and I thought that I'm going to be actually a tech spin-off of real estate. And I secured 60, 70 different domains with different ideas and different business concepts. And, I have no idea why, when I spun this brokerage off, I chose that name.
Yeah.
It just felt right at that moment.
Have people approached you to buy you guys?
We have been approached. We've been approached by some of the large ones. We've been approached by the franchise systems. It never actually made sense. Mm-hmm. I think that maybe people that sell either are struggling in operating their businesses or are reach a point where they don't want the responsibility of doing that. I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. I love what I do. Speaking
of commissions, you saw the ruling that happened.
Yes.
That's going to change real estate commissions, no matter how you cut it. And obviously, that pie is going to be much less in 2023 because of the market. But going forward, do you feel like that's going to cut into your business?
I think it's too early to say. I think that there's going to be appeals, and I think that this litigation, right now the standard is in Missouri. Every state is made out of multiple MLSs and different real estate boards, and they each work under different standards. And I think it's a very complex standard to try to apply across 50 states, and within each state across multiple various boards and MLSs and trade groups that will be impacted by it. So I don't know. There's been attempts and attacks on the real estate industry since I started my career 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's always this big news, they're coming for us. And then it kind of fades away and fizzles out.
Do you think there's some jealousy towards real estate from...
I think that real estate actually has grown alongside other industries. It's grown alongside the economies. There's been an economical expansion across the world. You've got developing markets in developing countries. Southeast Asia, China over the past 20 years has been supporting the real estate markets in the U.S. and in fact anywhere around the world. The consumer markets, you've got 2 or 3 billion people on that side of the world that are kind of rising into the middle class and beginning to spend all over. And that whether it slows down from 10% growth to 4% growth, it doesn't matter. They're here to stay. And so as long as we have this expansion of population and middle class around the world, it's going to continue to thrive.
How many markets are you in outside of the U.S.?
51 offices right now.
Outside of the U.S.?
No, including the U.S.
Including the U.S. Wow, that's a lot of offices. From early viewing, which markets do you think are going to be the strongest for you?
It's interesting. So we talked about the fluctuations of the marketplace. So some markets feels like they're going to be slow growers. Others had a moment. For example, in 2020 during the pandemic, we were contacted by someone in Lisbon, in Portugal, and we said, let's give it a shot. A few months, we're up and going, and Portugal was experiencing some kind of a moment. There was a huge surge of people leaving the West Coast, surf life, discovering this quiet country that was always sort of off the beaten path in Europe. And that is a very successful marketplace for us and growing all over. We're now from Porto down to the Algarves and Madeira. We just launched a project there and putting an office there. So of all markets, it's fast growing.
With social media as well. Like you guys very early on, you jumped on this social media train and you started like...
Yeah. So with everything that we do, we look for... where is the window of opportunity? In fact, when we started the firm, while 20 years ago there was a traditional pathway to doing this, and at the time, I don't think a lot of people were paying attention to search engines, and so my first hire was actually a programmer and a guy that understood how to work.
That's your first hire?
That was the first hire.
In the early 2000s?
In the early 2000s. So the first couple of years, our strategy was all about capitalizing on search engine optimization, learning how to work the search engines, building up blog farms and building a network online. So we're not afraid of challenge, and we're not afraid to innovate.
You started Ryan Serhant's career he started his career at Nest Seekers. How's your relationship with Ryan now?
We really are focusing on our business. We don't engage with anyone really but people that we do business with and transactions with, and we focus on the community and the world that we have. I have 2,000 people and employees that I have to communicate with, account to, and those are the people that I really work with and spend my days with. Recently,
we were supposed to do this interview earlier, like I think it was like supposed to be on October 10th or something. And then you had to change our interview because you actually went into the war zone. Yeah,
yes,
you went to Israel.
Yes. October 7th happened, and we all saw the videos, the footage, the images that were coming in real time. I woke up early in the morning, as I do, to communicate with markets on the other side of the world, and was just stunned by what I saw. And it was just very obvious as it was happening, this is different. This is not some, heating up, a conflict that's reheating up again. This looked brutal and out of this world. And so my first initial instinct is to check up on the family. If you're from there, then there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of identity, there's a sense of having to be there when things are tough, to support it. It's a very young country that's been under attack since the day it was founded, and it's a sense of patriotism and you want to protect it, and so. I wasn't brought up to run away from problems. If there's a problem, and everyone that I know that is from there, we face it.
What sort of motivating advice do you have for your brokers and just brokers in general?
Stay the course. One of the questions that I always have a hard time with is when people ask me, what is your 3-year business plan or your 5-year business plan? So, well, I don't have a 3-year business plan or a 5-year business. We have a 100-year business plan. Markets evolve, trends, there's fluctuations that take place. There are different class assets that are going to draw attention here and there, but it comes in cycles. Real estate is not going anywhere. Walls, bricks, we live in them, we invest in them. This is our vacation homes, this is our investment properties. They're not going anywhere. So you've got to stay in it and you've got to have a long-term plan. But people need the service. People want the service. It's not just the service and facilitating, finding the place, and you want advice. 30 years later, 20 Armageddon's predictions later, I now feel very, very comfortable saying there's no chance in hell that our industry is going anywhere but up.
You heard it here first, folks. Stay the course. Thank you so much.